Are we going to have some light rail expansion coming up for Hampton Roads?
It's that thing. If you build it, they'll come. I don't know.
Okay.
It's field of dreams for you, but it
We're staying with
seems
the sports
it's
movies
yeah,
here. I
it's
like it.
all
We're
on the
very
brain.
thematic
It,
here
it
on Live
seems like
Impact.
there's a lot of doubt in people's mind. This
Mm-hmm.
was a conversation nearly. Can you believe that's a decade ago, 2016? First
It
of all,
it is it is shocking. It feels like that conversation didn't happen so long ago. That's
yeah.
also the year I started here at 13 News Now,
Oh
so it's
wow.
kind of a milestone year for me. It's also the year that LeBron James won the single greatest championship in NBA history. So
Debatable.
a lot that happened in 2016, but the light rail conversation was a lightning rod for. I don't want to say controversy, but it was just a hotly debated topic
Yeah,
here in Hampton Roads,
you
and
know,
maybe controversial as well, honestly, if we look into it.
you have some people you hear expanding all the way to the Virginia Beach Oceanfront. For those not familiar, running right now in Norfolk, stopping in Norfolk. This conversation, the vote only failed 58 to 42 back in 2016. $243 million with VB being responsible for 88 million. That's a lot of dough for people to be concerned about. And, I talked to a council member on this. I talked to the delegate representing the 95th district that is bringing it back to the table. A lot of people are like, why are we bringing this back to the table? We already voted on it. It doesn't need to come back around. It is what it is. But I did talk to both of them. We can run some of that sound from my interviews if we want to just kind of introduce what they had to say.
Okay, let's go to those thoughts.
A decade is a long time ago, right? I believe that the current community members have changed. The council members has changed. I know the members of the House of Delegates have certainly changed, and I think it's time for us to sort of look towards the future.
Just because the citizens voted it down in 2016 doesn't mean it should go away. Everyone would agree that some form of mass transit, whatever it looks like, should be a part of VB Trail. But it just lacked being a part of a bigger plan. It just stopped at Town Center, and so the cost just to stop at Town Center, there was no benefit to that. It needs to be part of a larger plan.
Okay, so two representatives that you spoke to here today, and the first thing I want to stick on is that they bring up the point of, look, it's been 10 years. There's no reason not to bring this up again. Society continues to change and move forward, and the needs of the people and communities all across Hampton Roads change with that society that is growing and changing. And so just because an initiative didn't work 10 years ago doesn't mean you don't bring it up again.
I mean, I don't think there's any loss of value to bring up the conversation again.
Right.
Is what they're trying to get to. 10 years, that amount of time, they've seen a lot of younger people move to the area and wanting to push for an expansion. You got people that work at jobs over in Virginia Beach, but also in Norfolk. And so having any type of mass transit, I feel like they're pushing forward is something to go to. The council member brought up that Virginia Beach is already pushing forward a trail project to have a paved biking trail that reaches the exact same stretch. So he kind of brought to the table, why not look into an option that also brings transit along that same route. It's really interesting. I mean, 58 to 42, you look at that vote, that's not a big separation. It's not like 90% of people said absolutely not, we don't want this.
Yeah.
It's so far out. Anytime you're talking about railroads, this railroad, that light rail, it's not something that you go and you start digging up dirt tomorrow, and you and me go take shovels and we're getting started with the expansion. So it's definitely a long time away.
And I think that in Hampton Roads, there's a sense maybe, and I would venture to say that most people, if you ask them this question, would feel this way about their city, but there's a sense maybe that there's a lot of construction going on a lot of the time in Virginia Beach and in Norfolk. Specifically, we've had some long-lasting highway projects that maybe people will kind of focus on and things like that. Was any of that brought up by the elected officials when you spoke to them?
Yeah, I did a story that we retouched on Shore Drive construction.
Construction,
people getting stuck in traffic on the Lesnar Bridge for 45 minutes out of their day. So people already have a right in their minds to complain about construction. Anytime you add a whole light rail going through the middle of two cities, it's not something that's gonna they're just going to throw down and not inconvenience anybody's day.
Right, and we're obviously in an instant gratification society as well, and a project like this would probably have an end date that is very, very far away.
The council member did bring up, he's like, what if light rail's already obsolete, though? He also wanted to look at future technology, which pokes my interest of, really, we're already to the point where our light rail systems are obsolete. I didn't even think about that.
When he said future technology, did he mean some other form of mass transit?
Mass transit.
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
Which pokes my interest of what's out there already. You know,
Right.
I haven't done that deep dive yet.
Okay, that's still to come. Maybe
Yeah,
we'll have you back
we-
on as you explore
You know,
this.
the high-tech submarines, or I don't know what he's talking about there.
Now, in terms of, those are maybe some of the things that were brought up in terms of hesitancy. Any other reasons that they brought up in terms of why maybe this wouldn't happen or why this wouldn't go forward?
Everything's about dollar signs, right? I mean, it's just it's got to be feasible. And when anytime you bring about taxpayer dollars, things like that in a conversation, look at the VB Trail. That project's already moving forward just for a paved trail. And Councilmember Remick tells me that 2 out of 5 of the legs of that project are funded. That's not even 50% of the way funded for that. So even to get the paved trail that we're already pushing for, that'll get people out and about on their bikes, things like that. That is still 5, almost maybe even 10 more years off. So to try and think about funding a heavy duty project like the rail system, that on top of that, it can cause some headaches, I feel like. And but it might bring a lot of jobs to the area. You think
That's
about
the next
that
way that I
angle?
want to go with this, and you're already on our way there. Let's talk about some reasons why this could be beneficial to the community.
Well, like I said, you got people working in both cities. You got people needing transportation. Look at how backed up I get on 264 every day coming here and going.
And you
back.
live at the oceanfront.
At the oceanfront.
Right.
And, there was that day we had our training last week where there was 2 pileups on the same time, and it took nearly an hour and 45 minutes to get into work. So. I think one of the benefits the delegate had mentioned, Askew, he says that, he would take it, people would take it instead of taking their car to work that day. That frees up, our highway systems and maybe we have less car accidents, things like that. But
just spitballing anecdotally here, as you talk about people who already live in those 2 cities and how much easier it would make their transit, you also may have people who would like to explore job opportunities in Virginia Beach that live in Norfolk or vice versa, hesitant to do so. Maybe that becomes more of an option.
Well, it's a cheaper commute, but also you look at new things like the Dome and things for advertising to bring tax dollars to a city. You need people to work at those different venues and hotels and restaurants, and people rely on getting to and from Norfolk, I feel like, to Virginia Beach or vice versa on a daily basis. So freeing up a more affordable way for people to, there's people that don't own cars. Well, you're going to Uber each way. I mean, I've heard some other stories like that. So
you mentioned that we talk about all these professional reasons. You mentioned the Dome. We've got the Scope here in Norfolk. If you want to go see a show at the Dome and you're in Norfolk, maybe you're more enticed to do so if there is an efficient and affordable transportation method that's not a $30 or $40 Uber where you have to wait for it to get there and all that kind of stuff. No shade to Uber, which is obviously a helpful service. But
even the other way, if I want to hop on there and go see a Tides game
and go see a Tides game or an Admirals game,
throw the baseball jersey on and take the train. I think there's a lot of dollars that could be recouped from this. But again,
and if you like to engage in the nightlife, it's a much safer way to get home than driving a vehicle.
Oh yeah.
And then there's the environmental implications as well.
There's a lot of positives, but there's also a lot of tie-ups on how do we actually make this happen.
How do we make it happen?
When it was brought up to the table last time, they had said a lot of people didn't like that it just went to town center, but then it's like, well, how feasible is it to actually get it to the oceanfront without costing $1 billion to make that happen? So it's a seesaw kind of table game of is it possible? And I think that's why it's a 2-year study to even look into it. So I feel like that's just why he wants to bring the study to the table. And a lot of people still are like, yeah, let's pump the brakes on it.
And in terms of the 2-year study, is that something that is officially going to happen, or that has been floated as an idea that could happen?
Sure. So it's in subcommittee right now. Okay. It's going to be heard this week. It's got to go to the floor after that. There's a couple steps it has to go through before it's even brought forward. If it does happen, then our state rail agency would then start to look at, hey, how is this possible? What people do we need doing what? And where do we take it and what the benefits are? So that's the 2-year period. So we're not even to the start of the study yet. So it's a lot that goes into it. But he had mentioned that as a delegate, like, you bring 100 bills a year up, and a handful of them move forward. But he seemed pretty confident that this is one that he wanted to advocate and fight for. He said it got tied up a little bit because of the snowstorm that we were doing coverage on, so I think the whole world stopped a second.
We certainly had a major pause here for that little portion of Saturday night where the snow really did start falling. Now, in terms of the light rail as it exists currently in Norfolk, any information that you were able to gather about how effective and useful that has been?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a hit or miss. The council member said when it first opened up, people were jumping on it left and right. And, even in my time walking down Granby Street when I first moved here and was kind of staying in a hotel waiting for, my apartment to be ready, I saw people use it, on a pretty good basis when you had Tides games going on. I even used it my third day in town to get to the Tides game, and I had no problems with it. But I feel like as the years have gone on, as it's existed, people kind of, I don't want to say take it for granted, but it's just there. Right. I saw a video I was watching earlier today. The first day it opened, you couldn't find a seat or standing room only in the train cars. But with anything, excitement builds, right? And you got to be the first to check something out.
Right. That's right.
So, I think you use it if it definitely fits into your daily life. But besides that, it's like,
Right. And like you said, taking it for granted. We live in a car-driven culture. It's a difficult thing to kind of change over into that more public transit-driven city or area. So all things that are in development, as you said. Is there anything else we need to know about this situation?
No, just, if you're living in either city and you're looking at it, keep an eye on it. I'd also like to look at the expansion across all of Virginia, see where we're at with our train systems. It brings along that question of what is that new technology we can dive into, in a world of electric cars and all the crazy stuff that we see nowadays. I'm sure there's technology behind the scenes that we don't talk about. So
I'm excited for this to be a story that maybe you kind of are able to latch onto, and as it develops, you're able to kind of make it something that you cover on a regular basis. Because like we said, it's now come up for the second time in a decade, and the first time it came up, it was a major point of conversation. And as you also noted, even if it doesn't result in maybe exactly what's being discussed right now, if we can have an expansion of mass transit in some sort of meaningful way, then maybe it takes a different path there, but there could still be growth here. So hopefully more updates to come.